Distinguished friends, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. You're now watching an online information session brought to you by Peking University, and I'm your host today. My name is Angela. So what are we going to discover today, and which school we're going to introduce today? Well, what they are doing research on have received tremendous attention from the entire scientific community, and this is a hot topic nowadays. So we're going to introduce School of Artificial Intelligence and Institute for AI. And today we have three representatives from different faculties. And first, let's start with our VVIP. So let's welcome Professor Song Chunzhou. Welcome.
Thank you, Angela. It's a great pleasure to be here. I left China in 1992 and went to Harvard to get my PhD degree in 1996. After spending 18 years at UCLA as a professor, and I returned to Peking University last year. I've been the director of the Institute for AI. And then this year, we also created a new school for AI to have the bachelor's, master's, and PhD degrees. Okay, today we're going to introduce these programs to you.
Welcome, once again, welcome, and I think it is our great honor to have you today here. Thank you for coming. And next, let us introduce Assistant Professor of School of Psychology of PKU, Yu Jiapeng. Welcome.
Thank you, Angela. Hello, everyone. My name is Yu Jia. It's my great pleasure to be here. I studied psychology for 7 years now. I was at UCLA to finish my PhD. I focused on cognitive psychology, and after that I switched to clinical psychology to do research on depression and anxiety. But the most exciting part is about AI, how we can use psychology to help AI to develop and to nurture AI to gain human-level intelligence.
Welcome, and I think that this is a quite interesting question as well, and we're going to discuss it a little bit later. And the last but not the least, Assistant Professor of AI Institute of PKU, Yi Taoliang. Welcome.
Hello, it's my great pleasure to be here, especially to join this conversation with Angela, Yu Jia, and Professor Zhu. I just received my PhD degree from UCLA, and I joined PKU this September. Not just me, actually a lot of young and talented people joined this program this past year, and my research specialty is in machine learning. Just in one sentence, of course, we can discuss more about that. It's just how to make agents, how to make machines more intelligent, which is a core part of AI.
A very talented person. Welcome. Yes, because we have been talking a little bit before the start, so I think that we'll have a very interesting conversation today. So the question goes, what should we start with?
We're going to start with the history at Peking University. It goes from the AI program at Peking University, goes from a department and then to an institute and then now to a school. In 2002, Peking University started the first department in the nation, in my opinion, maybe in the world, a department for intelligent science and technology. A year after that, they have the bachelor's degree, and then by 2008, they established the graduate program. So by 2019, the school really accelerate in this area. They established this AI institute. Now the institute has 16 interdisciplinary research centers, including computer vision, natural language processing, machine learning, cognitive science, robotics, multi-agent systems, and also interdisciplinary centers for AI for art and AI for medicine and health, and also intelligent habitable Earth, so on and so forth. So this is a wide range of interdisciplinary research going on in the institute. Then last year, we started a special class for general artificial intelligence, an undergraduate degree for AI. And the undergraduate degree for intelligent science technology also received a national first class award, actually, in this area. And this year, we started a School of AI, which is a pioneer program in I think is in the world, to to establish a comprehensive program for AI education and research.
Wow, as far as I can see, so department, institute, and school opened not very long ago, but right now already have great achievements. So how do you think why it is happening? Well, one thing, I think that this is why the demand for individuals who can create complex systems has increased, yes. But what do you think? Why PKU have become very popular in this field?
Now, I think recently, I think PKU was ranked at #2, not in China, but across the whole world, right? You know, for me, this is a surprise. To be honest,
this is a surprise too.
Yeah, this is a surprise. We know PKU is great, but you know, I actually have no idea PKU has gone so far like in the advancement of AI research, right? I know like Professor Zhu has already been a superstar, but this is still like amazing. Only 2 years, right? But that does not mean like PKU has only started AI research. It has gone a very long tradition, as Professor Zhu introduced.
Yes.
But actually, I think a lot of it is owed to a very, very unique perspective of AI, which I think Professor Zhu will elaborate more, which is like across the world, many schools believe, many universities believe AI is a subfield of computer science. So they take a very computer science view, a perspective about what is important, how to do AI research. But we are different. We take a very holistic view, right? So there's AI for arts, AI for social science, there's psychology people here.
So this is what you have mentioned about interdisciplinary, right?
Yeah.
So this is the thing. I think that this is also a part which is very special here, right?
Yeah. I think probably it's better for Professor Zhu.
Yes. Let me introduce this AIRankings.org. It's a international website that is a metric-based ranking using publications in the past 10 years on top venues in all core AI areas that we just mentioned. For example, you have some AI general areas like triple AI, Ichikai, and top journals and conference, and also computer vision, big areas, natural language understanding, processing, robotics, and machine learning is big area, and the cognitive reasoning like yoU is working on, and also multi-agent systems like game theories and social intelligence. Also, there are simulations like VR, AR to train the AI agents. So around all these core areas, so if you calculate or do the statistics of all the publications of scholars, professors in each of the universities, actually over 500 universities globally, and Peking University comes second, only to College Mellon is bigger, obviously. So this has a reason because Peking University has a long history of developing artificial intelligence, and as we just said, they have the first programming department, the first of this school even now. So this will naturally come to the next question that you will ask.
Yes, exactly. Like maybe for many people it is like computers, and what we're talking about AI, it's more about devices. So this is what they're doing, like programs or something like which is like mechanized, so our life might be a little bit more convenient. But as far as I know, it's not like this, right? This is only a basic information.
Right. So many people will ask you this question, what is AI, right? What I'm going to study in this school of AI? Why do you want to have a different school other than computer science? Because a conventional view will say AI is part of computer science. Many people take this view. But actually, nowadays, even people in psychology may think AI is part of their program. And the statistics department think that AI is part of their program, like machine learning started from them, right? And also, people in engineering school, they have robotics and also economics, even art, right? The school, they all have part of this AI. So that means AI is really disciplinary research in the past. And now it's time to make AI as a field of itself, as a school of itself.
But it's inclusive because it also needs everything, right?
Exactly.
I believe there's also a very interesting history, right? For people in computer science, we always believe Alan Turing was the founding father,
Yeah.
right? But Alan Turing never really mentioned computer science.
Oh.
His goal was always to make an intelligent machine. So like Professor Zhu said, maybe, now it is a time to have, our own program instead of, just belonging to computer science. So we can also, have partnerships, and also many people from other disciplines can all join this, research.
Right. I just simply put that CS is to make computers. We'll make faster computers, and the computer has a bigger memory, can communicate fast, right? But AI is to create agents. Agents.
Well, that's the
right.
question.
That's the thing.
Another question, right?
Right. What's the difference between an agent and a computer? I believe psychology people can tell you later on. But here, let me give you one simple example.
Okay.
Right. So what is the agent? Let's look at this crawl. This is my favorite example. It's a crawl videoed by a photographer in Japan. It's a wide crawl. Nobody supervises it, and then his top priority is to survive in a busy city and try to find food and feed itself. That's a task. So therefore, agents, first of all, has a goal. It's driven by a lot of tasks itself. It's autonomous, and then it has interacting with the physical environment. For example, this crawl, found a walnut, and then you want to crash it. It cannot crash by itself.
Yes.
He found out the car can, help him, right, by dropping it on the road. But the road was too busy and it was dangerous. So therefore, he found another trick, which is drop the walnuts in the cross zebra line, right?
Very smart, yeah.
Yes, and then it figured out the causality between the traffic light and the cross light.
Yes.
Right. So when the cross light's on, see, the car stopped in front of the line, and then the crawl will have time to, go and get the food. So this whole process shows what an agent means. A computer cannot do this, right?
This is a kind of a logic. I don't know, maybe it does not include human emotions, but still there is a logic when you need to find out when you can go, right? So
right.
Is that about it?
Right. It has a perception. For example, it can see and understand the world, right? Like as eyes. And they can listen to the sound and understand the environment. And also have cognition, like a causality between the car and the whole car can crush the walnuts with physics understanding, and then can adapt and learn with a few examples. For example, this crawl won't have a lot of people supervise it, right?
Yes.
To many times. Just a few times it figured out by itself. Okay.
It's just about watching over what is going on, and then there is a logic behind.
Right. The adaptation probably is the most amazing part.
Yeah, adaptation.
Right? Like for a computer program, basically the coders, programmers need to specify what the program need to do. You almost need to cover every situation.
But it's also about randomizing, right? Because you cannot say that everything what's happening in life, it will be like from A to B and B to A. There are lots of things inside.
Yeah. I mean, even you cannot really fully describe everything. So that's why this crawl actually really listens, observes, and adapts, right? Which for instead of agent, but for computers or programs, that's super hard, right? Because it totally relies on the programmers to specify everything.
Yes.
But no one actually specifies for the crawl. Okay, there will be a car, there will be zebra line. Actually, he or she does not know at all.
No borders. It sounds like
right.
there are no borders.
Right.
But how is it connected? I'm really curious about with psychology. So, for example, for creating an agent, what psychology is responsible for?
I think just like Yital said, the agent is supposed to actively interact with the environment. So we expect the future or the final goal of the artificial intelligence to be like an agent. They can interactively figure out the rules and the goals by interacting with the environment, by looking at different things, interacting with different objects. They will try to adapt and figure out the logic and how different things work.
Right. This is really a mystery. How
Magic.
magic
Yeah.
that created by nature, evolution, that the cross brain is very small, right? It's about 1,000 times smaller than maybe a human brain. Generally, people believe that the power it has is less than like 0.2 watts. Like normally our brain is like 20 to 25 watts
Yeah.
of power use consumption. This one is maybe 1%, less than 1% of that. So, but it can solve all those problems that we cannot solve today. Okay, that is something amazing and worth of study. So in the past, let's briefly talk about this, right? This is my inspiration. How do we create an agent like this crawl? Of course, human is an agent. You and me are agents, right? It's same thing like a dog, monkeys. They're all agents.
We would like to make a copy of that, right?
We're like some sort of agents, right?
Okay.
And how do you do it? This is the beginning of AI. So it started in the 50s, and by a number maybe less than 2020, of young researchers at that time, because in the 50s, computers was not very capable of computing the power or memory. So, but they sketched this goal of trying to creating the general AI agents. Obviously, it didn't work at the beginning, and then it has go boom and bust in the past 60, 70 years.
But still, the idea remained at that time. Yes.
Right, it remains. So it's interesting that by the time when I went to college in the 80s, and AI was totally, went into a long winter, it's called. Because it was two big problems, like they call it dark cloud. The first is called symbol grounding problem, which is how do you recognize objects like dog, cats, or chairs, right? Because when we say a dog or cat, that's a symbol to us. But when you see it in the image, it's a signal.
Yes.
How do you connect a symbol grounded to what do you see? It was a big challenge. That's the first one. When you open your eyes, you see the world. The second, larger cloud is so-called common sense reasoning, which including the physics, like the crowd showed. Reasoning about the traffic lights, control, and then the car driving, how the world works.
So during the 80s, it started to include even more and more things inside, right?
And also social intelligence, like how to socially interacting with people in the society and so on. So those problems had no solution, and then AI went into a long winter. So this is a period of time when you created these 6 areas, which I put, like computer vision started in the early 1980s, and natural language and cognitive science, cognitive reasoning of common sense. Machine learning, like Yitao does, cognitive reasoning is what yoU is working on, cognitive science, and the robotics and the multi-agent systems.
So it started to develop separately.
And
then
they
somehow,
all somehow they have to come together. So this is what happened later in the 90s. We found a new foundation mathematically that goes from what people used in the 80s was logic. They used logic to represent the knowledge and to do reasoning. But that has the problem of symbol grounding, as we said, and the common sense reasoning. So in the 90s, they switched to probabilistic modeling and the stochastic computing you just mentioned. This is uncertainty. This is randomness, right? Because you have to deal with those. It's not deterministic. So also in the 90s, you have the so-called sensor revolution that created a digital camera You use digital camera, you take it for granted today. But actually, when I was a graduate student in the 90s, this is no digital camera.
Yeah.
Right. At Harvard, I remember we had more than, I think it's $250,000 to create, it's $250,000 to create a very low resolution camera.
Wow.
Yes, for digital camera to capture images, because you don't have enough memory, and then the bandwidth of the communication is very slow at that time.
Now
it's very
it's so
difficult.
easy, yeah.
Right, no, it's just you take it for granted. And then internet comes to spread the data that create so-called big data. Because you got sensors, you got a network, right? Then you create data. So with the data, using this probabilistic modeling approach, then you have deep learning, this method, right? That largely, to a large extent, resolved some simple grounding problem. So you see that it will go back to history, right? Now you can see people can do face recognition. They can recognize who you are. That's simple grounding. For example, you, like Angela, is a symbol. But your face, right, you show all different conditions under. That is a signal. They can ground you, means like recognize you when you get into campus, right? So that's called symbol grounding. Largely solved by this method. But then you can see what remains in this picture is the big common sense reasoning part, still unsolved. And also the 6 areas that has been divided since then will be united. So this is the trend that we're going to see, that from now to the future, you're going to see, my prediction is the integration and the unification to solve what we call the problem that people try to solve in the beginning. They try to build in the agents, that is including all the vision, language, and the robotics stuff. Does that make sense? So here next is that we are entering the era of bigger integration, including this. I try to put it into 6 areas. Of each of them. It's a bigger research area. For example, computer vision, you have like tens of thousands of people around the world to study it. So recognizing objects, understanding the scene, recognize action, what are you doing, right? What's your emotion, and this is the male, this is the female, how old are you happy? This is all vision problems. And then you have language, reasoning problems, cognitive science, for example. yoU can tell you. Cognitive science study, some social cognition, right?
You can make an introduction as well.
A lot of things in cognitive psychology, like how people perceive different things, how they perceive social intentions, interactions, theory of minds, etc. And of course, other directions like memories and language processing. So many different angles in cognitive psychology.
So Professor Zhu has just introduced that he really witnessed the whole process, the evolution of the AI. So what about you, when you started to have a connection with this area? So how do you understand it?
So at the very beginning, I only focused on human cognition. We think human cognition achieved a very high level of intelligence. We can do so many tasks. We can generalize easily. We learn from a simple example, and we can adapt to new tasks and different goals. But later on, I focused on artificial intelligence and machine learning. We try to compare how machine learns and how human learns. If with enough example, machine can achieve the same level as humans do. But we figured out the limitations of machines, that with the traditional research pathway, machines still cannot generalize like human learners. They need big data and they need a lot of resources, but they can still not achieve the efficient learning like human.
You're working on it, so we can overcome this border,
Right.
right? But the question is, like, for example, we're talking about this area which people might be interested in studying, but I see the question is that School of Artificial Intelligence includes so much. So is it like a pressure? So all the professions, they're like all together. So what about studies? Is it like you have to think about, like, your knowledge must be in this area, and in this area. So it's kind of complicated, I think.
Right. let me take this question in a way that it's very good question. So first of all, you think about the physics. Physics is an area, right? That's so many phenomena from astrophysics and black holes, and then you go to the Earth planet physics, and then also mechanics and statistical mechanics. There's many different areas and
Yes.
scales. This is very similar to what we do in artificial intelligence. You have different aspects like vision, language, as we said. So, but like physics, all those intelligent phenomena you observed, right, looks very complex, but there must be a simple principle behind it. So that's what I believe, that this may be a unified theoretical foundation. And we need to have a unified theoretical foundation. Similarly, like a physicist, they want to have a theory about everything of our world, a standard model, or for particle physics, and then a unified model that can explain everything in the world by a few equations. For us, we want to have a theoretical foundation that can explain all this intelligent phenomena that you just saw, right? Social physics. And then you also need an overarching cognitive architecture to create a human-like agent. So that's why we bring the yoU here, so that we understand what makes people smarter, right? And cognitively recognize so many things. There must be some sort of architecture. That means your brain has so many pieces, different cortical areas. They're responsible for different type of things like calculation, memory, and reasoning, language, motion planning, so on. So those areas communicate with each other. So you have such a architecture. When you got that one, then you may be able to create that agents. Okay.
So I see that, because I thought that maybe someone who is watching right now, they might be a little bit worried or confused. So I might become a superpower, like a Superman or Superwoman, because you need to know everything. But right now, teacher has explained it. This is a unified theoretic foundation, so no worries about it.
Right. Should be simple. Principles will be simple, and but you know, as a young people, I think it's you better to study a scientific frontier. This is really so many unknowns, and it's so exciting, so important actually to our society, and either for engineering, for science, or for economic industry development, artificial intelligence is such a important frontier for people to explore. So when I was an undergraduate student, I studied computer science. At that time, computer science was the frontier. Now, after 40 years, the frontier moved towards artificial intelligence. Then you have a large area of space for you to grow and to develop in this area. So my way to put it is like many people worried that maybe artificial intelligence will replace the job of people in the future. I say the best way for not to be replaced is that you study it.
Collaborate maybe. So we see that AI right now has already moved very, very forward, during these 30 years. So the question is, what was your interest?
Oh, yeah, of course, for me, but just going back a little bit about, whether students need to learn so much. I guess maybe I can bring some perspective from the students, because, just 1 year ago, I was a student, right? So this is very interesting. I think I really like, Professor Zhu's analogy, right? If you compare artificial intelligence to physics, actually, you can also make physics, the whole studies very complicated, right? Because you can just study the chair, every phenomenon about the chair, right? You can also study something else. Of course, no one is doing that. I'm just making an example, right? Then your perspective about viewing the world becomes very complicated. Because you think a chair is different from table is different from from a bottle here, right? Then you think everything is different. Then of course you think, okay, oh my God, I need to learn so much. I first need to learn chair, that what is happening interacting on the chair. But the same thing, which is, I think in some sense, the problem of separating AI into so many different disciplines, right? Then you think, oh my God, I need to study so much. But
a little bit confused, lots of things.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But now Newton tells you actually everything happens on the Earth follows the same rules. The Einstein told us, actually everything happens almost around the whole universe, follows, not similarly, but maybe some people think a different set of rules.
Yes.
But actually, you only need to study them. When you really need to make the chair, you need to specialize. But I don't think that's the purpose of a university's education program, because that's too specialized. Maybe after you leave the campus, leave the school, you can do that. But I think for us, it's the same, right? We actually only need to focus on a very foundational thing to set up the good foundation, the basics.
Okay.
And now everything becomes easy, right? Also, sometimes this is also the mindset. If you only focus on the details, you think everything is super hard. But if you jump out of the box, you view it from a more unified, but like you view something from the mountain, everything seems small and everything seems easier. But at least that's also what becomes interesting for me as a student. Sometimes you think, no, actually I don't need to know so much details. I only need to know how each thing connects to each other. And when I really need to use them, I can go one step deeper. But if I don't really need to use them, I only need to know, that big
You're
picture.
finding your interest, I guess. And this is also, it reminded me about one movie. I don't know whether you have been watching this, The Matrix. The one about it, like it's like you're trying to do something, but you're quite not really sure whether you can do it, and then you really find it. So I think that this is a little bit like similarity. So it's not so hard, right?
I think especially people who are watching this program, they are definitely probably even more capable than us, right? I have confidence in them. They definitely have more confidence in themselves. So I don't think they should worry about that at all.
Okay. So let's continue.
Yes. So that's what we think is going to be for the future of artificial intelligence, and the school of AI will focus on the foundations and the overarching architectures to developing AI agents. So there are current popular views. The simplified, this so-called A equals B plus C plus D. So we basically say, okay, AI, what is AI? It's, you have big data, you collecting a lot of data, and then you have a huge computing power, and then you use deep learning, then you solved. This is a recipe for developing a very specific AI products or AI problem. For example, I want to do face recognition. I want to recognize a dog, for example, right? Then you're collecting all possible dogs. That's big data. Then you compute it, and then you're learning, right? So this is a very, only see the tip of iceberg, as we said. You only see part of it. Many people have this kind of a simplified view, only part of it. But the real AI, which is the invisible part, is underwater. You don't see it as underwater.
So that means that what you see right now, maybe it's only like on surface, but actually AI is much more about it.
Right, much more about it. And that's what we talked about. You don't see it on the surface. So I just take one example, so that means how do you solve this problem? And then one way is what we call the big data approach. So I just use this diagram to illustrate how do you create AI system. That are key. There are three key factors. The first one is infrastructure or architecture. It's like our brain has a big cognitive architecture, right? Which is more complex than a dog, and then which is more complex, I believe, than a chicken. Right? That's more like an earthworm. You have a sequence of systems. They're all agents. So therefore, if you consider this as the agents, you put agents as a system. For example, I use as a set, like a basket. Every dot is AI system, right? You can consider this chicken, monkey, humans, and then each of us is a dot in that system, right? You are a system. Some people are smarter than the other, so in different ways. That means our infrastructure is slightly different. The second part is the tasks. You're driven by so many tasks to do,
Yes.
right? With a goal. And then the third aspect is the data. So you need 3 components to define the system. So I use 2 contrast, 2 kind of animals here, birds. The first is a parrot. It's on left. This way, you can think it's an infrastructure with a few tasks, and then with a lot of data. In a way, like you talk to a parrot, then you repeat it so many times, it begins to talk.
Yeah.
Right? That is kind of intelligence.
Oh.
But generally, I believe that the parrot does not understand what you're talking about.
They're just like copying. Yeah.
Copy and replace. Right? That's today a lot of AI is doing this. They have seen so many examples and then just copy and then begin to answer questions.
Yes.
But even though they don't understand your question, really what it means understanding, we'll talk about it later on.
I mean, there's a very famous
Understanding,
GPT-3,
right?
the big model, like the famous GPT-3. If you ask how many eyes a bird has, the machine can correctly answer you 2. But if you ask how many eyes the Earth has, which is a planet, it will still answer 2 because in the data, eyes always equals 2, right? But actually, the machine does not understand the question at all. Like a planet, of course, is an object. There's no concept of eyes in that. So this is kind of the big barrier Professor Zhu mentioned, right? There's no understanding here, no matter how much data you provide.
Right. What we understand, is the crow. The crow, we believe that they understand it, right? So you only have small data because nobody trained the crow. The crow just, wait without repeating the data. But they have to solve such big amount of tasks to survive. Right? The cognitive tasks, the recognition, the perception, and all these tasks put together to, in order to solve those tasks, they develop a different type of system. Okay, so I just used just 2 examples to show different philosophy and methodology of solving different type of agents.
So that depends on what aim do we want to reach, right?
Yes.
And what
some
we want
of
to use
special things or some or general things. So for school, we teach both. Of course, we teach some people who are doing machine learning, deep learning for a special purpose machine. But you also, for longer term, we really hope that you can create a general agent. That's called a general artificial intelligence. So it's a wide spectrum of agents. Okay.
Okay.
Got it. So that is our concept, the key concept. Let me just show you another example, very intuitive example. For example, how do you teach AI to recognize a chair, right?
That's a question for me, I guess.
Right.
Yeah.
How do you, just simple example, right? Chairs. So we see chairs everywhere.
Yeah, just because teach, it is like, as for me, it is we can teach children to do something.
Right.
Yes, but when we're talking about machine, so how does it work? If I'm doing something, does machine can recognize and she's just like doing the same, or we should like put some kind of a program inside and then according to the recognition, we should like make some changes, or how does the process go?
But maybe yoU can even add to this is even when parents teach children, you only need to show the kids a few times of a chair. Then the child actually can climb on the chair, figures out how I can sit on it, right?
Itao brought up a very interesting point. When we teach child, we don't need to show them every example of the chair in the world. There are millions of them, and it's never enough. But for the child, they can figure out what is a chair, figure out the concept by just interacting with a few of them.
Oh yeah, but so parents can only say this is a chair, and then you're just like exploring about yourself.
Right.
But here it's totally different.
But here, Professor Zhu can say more. Yeah.
So it's an amazing phenomenon that we take it for granted again. That we think we can teach your kids what is a chair easily and they get it. We don't know why. You never thought about how complicated this problem could be, right? What's a chair? The concept of a chair. So I will give you 3 types of ways to solve this. The first way is what we call big data, and plus learning, plus deep learning, right? A equal to B plus C plus D. So that means for each category, chair is one of this category, okay? you collect a large examples, amount of examples. How people collect it is like this. It's called crowd sourcing.
Yeah.
I go to internet and then issue this task. Say, okay, from people from Africa, Europe, Asia, everywhere. You just take a picture of your chair at your home, and then I collect it by maybe 1 cent per chair per pictures.
Yeah.
Right? Then in that way you can cover all shape, different views, different material, texture, lighting conditions, or collision, all kind of situations. So then you hopefully cover all cases. Then you collect them. This could be a huge amount, maybe tens of thousands of chairs. And then you just using the bounding box, say this is a chair, this is a chair, this is not a chair, and so on. And then you input to a computer, and then make a program to learn. That's what machine learning does. What it learns is something like a feature, like what do I just put here? A circle, say, oh, I see this little texture here, this is a corner here, and then you just give you a score. So 0.2, 0.3, you add all the score together, say your total is more than 60, let's say, out of 100. They say, oh, that's probably the chair. Okay, if it's under that, you say, no, that's not a chair. So this is one way of doing it.
But there are different shapes of it. So
there's so many ways, right? And then the bigger embarrassing, the inconvenience is that people always design new chairs. The artists always make trouble.
Yeah, so this is the question for artists. Don't make it too troublesome for people.
So they have endless called corner cases, long tails, right? And the problem now is that this generalizable. You learn a concept of chair. The concepts rely on all those little features and the scores. But is that really means a chair by those features, right? So this is task specific, not generalizable in people's opinion, and it does not really understand what a chair is.
Yes.
Okay, not explainable even. So the second solution, people realized was like, wait a minute, I don't need to remember all this texture chairs. I first of all go through the 3D structure and then ask a question: what is the chair for? This is called function and affordance. So you imagine that you yourself has different ways of sit. Then you have a need to sit down to rest, right?
Yes.
That's the first kind of this is a need, human need as tasks. And then when you see a chair, you just fit yourself into that chair and see whether you're comfortable with it or not. Right? If it is comfortable, say for example, you can sit, anything can sit. Really, it's a chair. If you cannot sit, it's not a chair.
So these are testings?
Right. This is just imagination. It's called simulation.
Simulation.
So psychology people will tell you that our brain has a cortical area which doing intensive simulation. Like you imagine, physics things going on, right?
Yeah.
And so we calculate this thing so fast that you don't experience that, but you calculate it. It's like I cannot sit there.
A few seconds and then
less than seconds, milliseconds. And suppose you have so many chairs together, and which one you sit more comfortably, right? Then you choose that one.
Yeah.
So this is human calculation. It's part of the intelligence, but it's not in the picture. It's you imagine yourself was sitting there, and the first one is called regression. The second one is called simulation. Okay, so now this will tells you more about a chair itself, instead of the texture, those decorations, colors, doesn't matter, right?
Oh, so it's about the need and the task.
Right. The essential thing is for you to sit to be comfortable. Now let's go to the second level. What do you mean by comfortable?
Yeah.
Okay.
Another question.
Another level. You go. This is we call it physical reasoning and utility learning, in the sense that.
How can you explain it? That's the thing. Like I can explain it to you, but how can you explain it to
a computer?
Yeah.
Okay. Here's the thing. Really interesting. This is at my lab. I intentionally put many different type of chairs, some comfortable, some less comfortable in the office, and then watch people come in and where they want to sit. I prefer this one, that one. okay, this is the preferred. That means a high bar means A, B, C, D chairs, right? And then the bar means how popular the people want to sit. Then, magically, in the human brain, we have another function called mirror neurons and so on. That means I can feel what your feeling is. Is in a way that, for example, when you sit in the chair, how the pressure was distributed around the different part of the body.
Oh, wow.
When you see other people, for example, when they carry a heavy box, then you can imagine which muscle they're using, right? You can feel it because you do it by yourself.
Yes.
That's a wonderful thing. We all have the same type of bones and the body, muscles. Right? We have exactly the same amount of muscle. Every muscle and bone you have, I have it. So I can feel what you do. So that means I can map it to my body, and then you can recognize, when you sit in that chair, how this is distributed. Based on that statistics, I can figure out, what is human preference? Why you sit in that chair, not in this chair? That's because you prefer the distribution in this way, not that way. Then I can solve that inequality. From there, I can learn what is called as human utility. It's like what you like. And once you know what you like, then you can design chairs. And then you can really understand what a chair means. In the sense that when people design new chair, those people really have a good understanding what a people's what's that word called?
Ergonomics.
Ergonomics. Right.
Yeah.
So that means design all different chairs, right? And different things so that you make it useful. So this is the 3 levels you can see. And then once you understand this, what you see is that as long as you know what you need, I need to sit and rest, and then and then how do I mean? Do you mean by
What
sitting
I mean by
comfortable?
sitting, yeah.
Then you can go to recognize what is a chair, what is not a chair. You don't need any data, do you? For example, when I see a total new chair, I never saw that chair before, but I recognize I can sit on it and then I can feel comfortable, right? Then that is a chair.
Oh, so you change the way of explanation, right?
Yes, changing the way of this explanation. That is part of the learning and modeling problem of agents. So when we talk about agents, the agents come to our world, like the crawl come to the world, or the baby infants come to the world. They carry on many of these what called value systems, coded by genetic or eukaryotic area, some of them by chemicals. You like sweet things, you don't want bitter things, right?
The history of evolution, right?
Yeah.
So eventually helps us encode all those kind of values and utilities.
Right.
Okay.
So the animals like come to the world, like a crow, they have this value system. They have a goal to survive, and that's how they created so many tasks around them, and then began to navigate in the world to survive using the big tasks to define that architecture. We'll call it.
Professor Zhu's philosophy. That's actually one thing that is really interesting, but maybe a little bit implicit, is we do believe chairs are designed by people, but for people, right? It's not some random things scattered together and somehow we call them chairs.
Yes.
But now the current learning is kind of like that. We try to figure out all those different patterns. It sounds like they come out of nowhere. Like, somehow, like, eventually we'll group all of them and calling them chair. But Professor Zhu, like, taking a totally different perspective, right? Like, it's only the things you can sit on, especially people who can sit on are the chairs.
Yeah.
So now we are not really doing the pattern matching, like which, there's like circles or something like that.
Angles,
Then you need to cover so many different, coordinate cases. So you need to take, like,
and it's getting
collect
complicated.
So many, exactly, which is like a nuance, all the like small details, right? But the overarching, what is common is like you can sit on them. That is the only thing that is common occurs all those kind of things because it's designed by people, right? Once you get that, things become easy.
That makes sense, exactly.
Right.
It also goes back to the theory of a unified rule. We don't have to teach AI so many different tasks, but through this one unified theory, they can learn very generalizable concept and intelligence, just like how human infants learn.
Right.
Okay.
So, okay, we went through one example, which is what it means a chair. So then if we agents has all this utility value system, they can automatically figure out what is a chair. Okay, so let me tell you another example. Second example.
Level 2. Yeah, like going
Example
upgrading.
2. Example 2 here is cracking walnut, like a crawl, right?
Yeah.
A crawl. So this is the common tasks in daily life. For example, I just show you one example. This is a student in my lab. Okay, so suppose I just say, okay, you just demonstrate once how do you crack a walnut, and I give you like 10 different tools on the table, and then you can see this person just without much of thinking, but actually that's need a lot of thinking to pick up a hammer, and then where you grasp, right? There's so many other tools you can use.
Lots of calculations.
Right,
Yeah.
and then you grasp where, and then how do you wave it, and then you crack it, and then with how
Force
fast
as well.
the speed. Then supposedly, and then you generalize. I think both of them talk about generalization. It's generalizable. It's a key concept. In a novel situation, let's say, okay, now cracking this walnut, but you don't see the old tools anymore. You see all these different type of objects, daily objects in your life. So you can see, okay, this person needed to think, right? What is the key concept? As we said, the chair is a concept to sit, but here cracking a nut, as you may understand, is to create pressure within a certain time.
Yes.
Not too big, not too small. How do you create it?
So it can.
Do you do a physical calculation?
Yes.
So this is what this person does. Okay, let me show you. So watch. He hesitated a little bit and then pick up the wood. This is a wood leg of a table, and he picked up the middle, not in the higher part and lower part, right? And then he not doing this and this. He doing this. He did it twice. The first try didn't work because he cannot calculate the thing exactly. You don't want to
Precisely, yeah.
Don't powder the walnut. And then second try he got it exactly cracked. So this is a intelligence, okay, understanding. And how do you do it? And how do you generalize it? You don't need to train thousands of examples. So this is the way. That means during that time you have to do a lot of imagination or like a physical simulation. Okay, if I using this object, I'm going to grasp over there. We're going to grasp, and then how much of force I can do this or this different actions. You put it on. So, and then this is a way of imagination thinking. Where you grasp. Okay, then this is the equation that you saw. This is a little complicated, but
This is the whole process.
this whole process, you
goes.
need to imagine what kind of action you put it on and which object you use. So there are so many calculations that go through. Even you realize maybe you thought you didn't do anything. You didn't think.
Exactly. I'm thinking about it. You just separated everything. Maybe
Right.
it's only like it happened so fast. But
Exactly.
actually, I was thinking about it, right?
Yeah,
All
because
over.
your brain is so powerful. Our brain was not made for playing Go games or chess. Our brain is created to do this. So fast, much faster than any of these machines. Okay, nowadays. So and the causal reasoning and so on. So this is a robot to simulate, but you can see the robots cannot handle it like humans because the hand is different. They have different body. This is so-called embodiment problem. Okay, so they have different embodiment. They need a different way of cracking it. Okay, so this is what we do. All right, this is funny.
But yet they cannot think about it, like how to hold it so
Right.
it won't drop, right?
Right.
So this is another question.
Yes, because he has different body.
Yeah.
You and me have the same body, then I can copy you.
Yeah.
But he cannot. Okay. So this is a third example. I show you how mighty human intelligence really is. This is the task of opening a beer. So suppose you want to open a beer, let everyone got this experience, right? So people have so many ways to open a beer, right? And you understand the physics, and so this way you cannot train, right? You cannot train the robots to do like a thousand of examples because there's so many examples people can try. So this is generalization and common sense. Okay.
This is a creativity.
This is a
creativity.
You can see the guy was using that. So this is creative.
Millions of ways how to
Like
open
Millions
it.
of ways.
Yeah.
So this is what we call generalization. Agents can solve a problem in a new situation, correct? Not pre-programmed. That's different from a computer.
Yes.
A computer basically has to think exactly all the possible situations.
It's like automatic, and
Right.
this is like in the frame, right?
Right. Is a excellent programmer is to think about all possible cases and close all the loopholes. Otherwise, you're going to get a bug
Yeah,
or get in the
yeah.
loop that is never ended.
So it is just like to solve some routine tasks,
Right.
yes, but not like something outside of it.
Exactly.
We are also joking about that. This is called more artificial, more intelligence, right? The more people can cover, the more intelligent the machine seems like, because you think for the machines. But now it has to change. The machine need to automatically adapt and kind of
Think for themselves.
Exactly.
But that's still a question, how can they think for themselves and where we can use it in our daily lives? So sometimes I think that my connection with what they're doing and what they are used for, maybe it's still like stopped somewhere in the computer science, but not in AI. So where can we see it right now?
I think it has to be a kind of slow process towards that goal, right? Like it's not, just after this talk show, suddenly we are changing that. But like there's a very few fundamental things that has to change. One is like Professor Zhu says, it has to be task driven, right? But it does not mean like the task has to be created by people, but it's more like the first thing is like, okay, like the car need to survive.
Yes.
Then what is the task? Right? You need to find the walnut. And that is the task. Right? Then you need to figure out, the utility, the values, right? Like all those kind of stuff, like which can help you achieve that. Then you can eventually figure out a good pathway to solve the problem. Right, but so this is the kind of, you need to build a whole path from creating the task for the situation, then finding kind of the tools according to the utility and the values of the functionality. Then eventually
think.
Right, eventually you explore how to use it and eventually use it.
Wow.
Right. So still it's very challenging.
Yes.
but yeah.
Right. You cannot predefine the tasks, and nowadays in this intelligence. Okay, so far we just show you some examples of so-called physical intelligence.
Yes.
And next branch is called social intelligence. This is all part of what we call like common sense. Remember the second cloud?
Yes.
The cloud, big cloud. This is all a problem that we need to understand for AI. So we are social animals. Agents are forming social society. They must communicate with each other and then teaming, cooperating, explaining to each other. Right, this is all a different aspect we study here. And actually, this is how AI connected with community, social science, because they study society as well. So to study this social intelligence, we kind of understand what we call the so-called dark matters. Remember the iceberg, whatever we see is not underwater. There's a lot of things we don't see here. So for example, when you watch this video, this is a psychologist, two psychologists in 1944, Hitler and Zimmer, two psychologists. They draw this cartoon. So when you watch it, you're supposed to only see two triangles and then one circle, right? And then a bunch of line segments form a triangle.
Yeah.
That's it, form a rectangle. So that's you're supposed to see. But what you really see is so agents moving around and the action, you can see the character, the moods, and the social relations, and the intentions, and even you can feel the mental states right?
Yes.
You know what you just want. So that means all this rich cognition is not in the perception part. Perception means what do you see?
But that's more about imagination also?
Yes.
Yeah.
So you imagine. How can you imagine that? Because, well, we have a cognitive architecture again, you know, to make sense of the world. So what do you see by a large percentage is your imagination, actually. So that's what the Buddhism talked about.
Yeah.
Imagination. So I call this the dark matter of intelligence because they work together with the visible part, the invisible part.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking about. Like we have been studying about the hyperlink. It was the same. Like you're clicking on something and then you're going into the next world, like on the website. So that was like long time ago when
that's
internet started to. Yeah, that's the thing. Like here you need to imagine, and then you're going with your imagination to create something.
Right. That's a big part of what the brain is doing. It's this kind of a cognitive reasoning in the concept.
Basically, like interpreting what we see, going beyond the visual cues, but interpret the meaning behind the simple lines and dots.
So that means that you're more responsible for interpretation.
Right.
Oh.
The cognition, thinking, reasoning,
So
interpretation.
Our social intelligence is that as a human or AI agent, we must know what other people knows, what other people see. Okay, you see from other people's point, what is he's doing, attention, what is the goal, what he's going to do next. So we not only see what we do for the physical world, but also we see other people, right? So what are you doing? And otherwise we cannot communicate and cannot cooperate. So this is one magical moment when the toddler develops. This is called developmental psychology. Study around 12 months old, an infant, they begin to point. This is a specialty, a capability of humans. So you say, well, you also take that for granted, in the sense that, well, what's so important about pointing? Because we use it all the time. Pointing is very complex. Means that he saw something, and then he know you didn't see it.
Oh.
He can think about what you think about it, and then
Let me pay attention.
Pay attention. Then say, let you see it, right?
Yes.
How do you reach this point? Is first of all, you need to see from what other people see. This is like a view transfer. It's difficult. Okay, so I don't think the people can do this training. Okay, so that means you see this person was using a microwave. That's a third-person view. But then we also see, he saw the front, which is that view, right? That's the first person view. This is third person view, right? You got what I'm saying. When I see him, this is what I see, but this is what he see.
Yeah.
And then I try to recognize what he is looking at. So then I can help him. Say, oh no, just push that button. Then you know what it is. So then you want to know what he saw, and this is our capability. For example, when you watch a person, this is the demo, in a room walking around, right? Then you can try to estimate what he has seen. Okay, build out the world, what he's doing, based on what he looked, right? And then you know what he's doing, and then when you know what he's doing, and then you know what he's looking at each moment. So this is a view transfer, first of all. Then secondly, you begin to infer what other people see. That's an example. You first of all, this is what you see as a robot, for example. The robots begin to guess what the humans looking at. This is what a human really look at. We'll put a camera in the human's eye. This is what he recorded. But this is what we try to reason about what he see. So for example, you have a roommate, let's say, you try to hide something from him, right? And when he comes to the room, and then she comes to the room, and then she quickly gets something and left. Then you want to know, did she find my secret, right? And that depends whether he look at it. You just look at it, what he see.
Then, vision, about the vision.
Then you know what he knows. The next time you know how to talk to her. Right? If you found it out of your secret, and then maybe that's one way, the other way. So this is kind of interesting. Then this is another example. How do you form a common knowledge and then form cooperation? This is in a lab. You have a girl who's seeing this part of the room, right? And then what she look at it, it's not what he will not know.
Yeah.
But at a certain moment, he make a noise because the water went out, you know. And then they take a look at each other. They form the so-called triangles. So I saw, you saw, and I see, you see, and you know, we see each other. Then they form a plane. Basically, they form what we call a common mind. Okay. Once you have a common mind, and then you have a task divide. Then you just say, okay, I do this, and then you do that. So without even needing to talk.
Joint attention.
Right,
yeah,
joint attention.
Yeah.
So this is what I call a cognitive architecture between two agents. Let's take a moment to go through this thing. Suppose this is a AI agents A. Okay, two agents could be two person, could be two agents AI, or could be one AI, one agent. Okay, but even when you talk, you know, to your pet like a dog or a cat, you also have some sort of a mind what the cat knows, right, about you, and then you know about cat. So you have this kind of mental mind, the mind representation. This is just a representation. I'll just show you in the graph. So suppose the world as a physical world, which I use a circle to represent it, and the states currently has a states S. That's where's objects, where's the scene, what are people doing, right? That's the states. That's a dot. At a certain moment, this world will map to the brain of A. He saw the world.
Yeah.
But he's with uncertainty. That means, you know, when the word certain is a dot, then this uncertainty become cloud. It's like a probability. Then the B, another person look at the world from different view, is getting his own view, right? Perception. That he look at the world different. That's how we have difference. Then they begin to communicate. So in order to communicate, A should need to know what B knows. They just map the world to B, and the B will know what A will know, right? Map it again. You see that the cloud become bigger.
Crossing, yeah.
Because more uncertainty. How much you know, how much I know, and so on. And I can keep going, right? And then I began to build my model. This is a model. And then you have your model. And then I know what your model is. You know my model. I know how you see the world, and then you see how I see.
Well?
Yes. They need all this, and then this is my decision policy. This is how I'm going to do things. Action policy, and this is how you're going to do it. And then I know this is the value system, the utility. This means like this is my value. Okay, that's your value, and then I will map you and you map me, and then I will know what are you going to do, what your value is, and you know what I value is.
This is a kind of recreating a human thinking.
Yes.
Yeah?
It's like I know what you know I know, and you know I know what you know. You get to keep going, right?
Yes. So we need to communicate to form this so-called common ground. That means we say, oh, this is a table. Then everyone recognizes the table. Otherwise, we cannot communicate.
Yes.
Right, and then nowadays people communicate as a problem, like I don't believe what you said, like a fake news. So and then we have a common knowledge about the world or common view. Okay, and then we have a common social norm, which is common action, decision policy, and then common value system of the world. So this is the architecture that we have to communicate with people. So that needed to be get into the agent's mind. So that's including all this aspect. Let me show you. So this is an example how robots as an agent. For example, in this demo example, we made in the lab, which is 4 years ago. So so suppose this person here, the robots here, a person locking the door. This is actually we did it at UCLA. So a student, this is Mark. He just defended his PhD thesis a couple months ago. And you see people with hand occupied. And then that's a food, he probably want to put it in the refrigerator, right? Without being asked. Then you make an intention. You can infer what's his intentions, what he want you to do, right? And, and then you just go to help and open the refrigerator by yourself. The robot go open it, right? And see what I mean? That's called a human machine teaming, working together as a team. And And this is another example that when you see that he grasped for the Coke, and then you know he want to drink, but then he didn't drink. What it means it's empty, right?
Yeah.
Then you try to find a new Coke for Mark. So this is the kind of reasoning and collaboration that we need. So you need to know what people think.
So he's trying to think over what does that mean?
Right.
What your deeds mean? Yeah.
Right.
Oh.
Okay. This is some example we have. So this is another typical example that we think is AI agent. It's a little like a bird. We create a simplified robot on the desks. You bought it at home. This is in a student dorm. And then when people walk in, they begin to understand the world, and that has vision, language, cognition, robotics, and the learning capabilities. Let me show you what it is.
The AI robot is trying to understand the surrounding environments and do cognitive reasoning. The robot reconstructs the 3D scene using our algorithm while scanning the room.
So first of all, come to your room, try to understand your room,
Scanning. Yeah.
scanning, and then try to imagine what you can do. Because some the furniture, you don't know what it is. Right? You imagine what people can sit here, sleep here, and then lie down here, and then you construct the world.
Apart from 3D pose estimation and tracking, our algorithm also knows what the human sees through gaze estimation to further predict his intention and future activity. Our AI system will remember what it sees while observing and accomplish situated dialogue with its memory.
Hey, Goose, where's the remote?
Right? Can you remember the history, right? And then now who took the remote? Where did it put?
On the table.
Who was
Oh, I got it. Yeah.
Locating the remote by reasoning with the customer.
you can understand what is going on in the picture and what the people. They can ask you a question in the sense that where the question is from, right? This is a type of question and answer.
The robot reminds the human agent to use another kettle.
That kettle is empty. Take the one on the counter.
In this case, the robot actively reminds and helps the human agent by forecasting.
So robot is observing and then like memorizing what and where
Yeah,
is located.
located.
And then
what
he-
the status are.
Yes, and then according to what I'm doing, he's trying to predict or maybe like think over what do I need
Yes.
and help me.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh.
This is how what an agent mean, right? Agent is interacting with the world, with people, and then knows all this. And here's like a robots. We have a value system. For example, he knows what is right or wrong. So you can, for example, you want to.
Uh-huh.
Sure this is correct.
So you. Right.
Ah.
So you can know what the value increased or value decreased. So that means the status has a value. Every stage mixed up and so on. So this once the robot has its own value and judgment, they can create their own tasks in the world, and then try to figure out what he would like to do, or figure out what other people is doing, why they're doing it. So this is the whole point of the robots learning. So finally, how do we train the robots and the agents, like train a crawl? Right? This is a technology we developing in here. We create a lot of random environment. The random environment, within that we can put a physics, like you can. This is not a video. This is a simulation. In the environment, you can doing all these physical things and be real and accomplish certain tasks. Drinking coffee and making this, and then you can teach robots how to do it. I just show you. I just show you how to grasp a ball, and then how do I get water and so on. So this way, the robots will watch what people are doing with the force was distributed in the fingers and so on. So that way, for example, now you can make an agent. This is the agent. As a body of a human body, it could be dog or could be a bird. This is fine. Just a different body. This is the virtual person, and then you can doing all kind of tasks like grasping, open the refrigerator, cutting the orange. This is to make an orange juice, and get a cup, clean the cup, and then then put a juicer and make a juice. So this divided into so many tasks, right? Each individual task nowadays is still challenging for robots. So this is AI agents. Let's go back to the beginning.
Yes.
Agents in a virtual space. But
Yeah, that's a growing a crow.
growing the crow. Yeah, you can think of this like a crow
Yeah, in the VR platform.
in a VR platform, and then we can teach them like here's the girl is agents. The boy here is a real person using a VR device getting in the room. And then you can cooperate like what they showed in that refrigerator. Right?
Is that what we're calling right now? That I heard that there can be a life in the cloud, like we're wearing VR.
Oh yes,
everything,
that's
and then you're like.
That's called a metaverse.
Yeah.
Metaverse.
I've heard about it, but I don't know.
Yes.
I don't know. Like this is the kind of the same.
You can think about it that way. A key technology in metaverse is that you create a new world, right, in your own universe, and then you invite a lot of people playing inside. Then how do you get in? You need a VR and inside. Then of course there are human agents. There are some AI agents, right? Because human agents are more not controllable, or people don't want to play with you. I want to create a lot of AI agents who can please me, right? And playing games with me and so on, right? So
it's just like a human child. They can learn from their parents. They can play with other child. They learn together by interacting with each other.
Fusion play in psychology has this kind of imagined play. They play in house, right? And then they can imagine the kids not existing and then play with them. Actually, they can play different roles. So anyway, this is in the virtual space, and then we can let people demonstrate how to crack walnut. This is the example. The humans, this is the human actually. And the robots, this is the agents to learn in the virtual space and how to try and error. And also, you can probe the brief and go and stop them and say, okay, tell me what are you doing now and how much explain to me. Ask for explanation and so on. So this is how we're gonna create AI agents. Okay.
Okay.
Now finally we'll go back to the program. Okay, so far
So that was basic information, or that was a little bit like deep into, because I'm a person who is listening to that for the first time, so I don't know, like that was only basics what you're learning about, like if you're going
it's pretty deep already.
Wow.
Yes.
Actually, every step Professor Zhu described is still a challenge for the whole AI community.
But this is what you're working on, right?
Exactly, but not only different pieces, right? Now everything has to come together. So even that video, like a robot actually knows how to make juice, right? Which for us, probably we do that every day.
Yes.
But actually, if we really think through, it has so many steps. Every task itself is already a challenge, but not mentioning like we actually need to put them like all together.
Especially in such a precise way.
Yeah, but that's why we also need that, we can call it metaverse or whatever we call them, that big VR platform, right? Of course, you cannot just throw a robot in the real world and just like try to, try different things, right? You actually need a training platform, which need to be as real as possible. So actually, eventually it can interact with the real world. But now we need that platform. So, people can come in to teach the robots, or like it actually is a great opportunity for the robots.
So this is an interaction, so they can learn from us.
Exactly.
So, okay.
Yes. So I just used a few examples to explain to you how do we make an agent, right? At the beginning we said AI is to make agents.
Yes.
And this agent is definitely different from a computer. You got it.
Yes.
So I think that goes through the concept. Now we get back to the school, right? The school is going to teach us this kind of program, and doing the research, of course, not only making the agents, but also interdisciplinary research with art, humanity. That's Peking University is number one, very strong in humanity and art, and also this social science. So it's going to be very, very interdisciplinary and fun. So we have this special class. You can see we have 2 classes now, each year of 30 of them. Last year, this year, and we have also team building community activities. So this is a small class teaching.
But do you have also some kind of practices before the graduation in the real world?
Oh yeah. Oh, we have opportunities for them to build the program together to work with professors from year 1. Actually, that is something I want to mention. Here in China, the school or the class we have is relatively very small. In the United States, for example, in UC system, like UC Berkeley, or when you have computer science classes, sometimes they have like 500 people start taking classes together.
Wow.
Yes, and that's not happening here.
And you don't get any chance to interact with the professors. Of course, there are 500 of them. Just
Here, you can see the class we teach is like 20 people, 15 people, and for the first year, like freshmen, they already began to do research. They already has the opportunity to interact with professors. They are already supervising some undergraduate students working. So by the 3rd year, when a junior, they begin to publish papers in the top international conference. Actually, we have people publish quite a few papers before graduation day. So that is really amazing. And probably 70, 80% of the people went to graduate school for pursuing a PhD degree.
So the program here is more like intensified also, like to push a little bit harder, or?
Oh, that depends on people. Some people want to push harder, and some people more want to slower. Depends on your own pace.
Okay.
But those people are already, I have to admit, they are very competitive people.
So that means that also the program is a bit flexible, because maybe you know about AI, but you don't know which field exactly you want to be in, so you have some time to decide, right?
So here's the program. You have some core AI courses. Those core courses is different from computer science, but you have some common math, stats courses, and then you have humanity and art. You take. And then there are some electives of AI. And then there are some common compulsory courses like politics, philosophy, English, morality, like humanity courses, so on. So, and then you have practice. That's as you just mentioned.
Yes.
Before you graduate, you want to write a thesis. And then you have some practice like a general AI system. Hands-on to develop some AI system together with the research team.
Okay.
So we have, in the AI Institute, we have over maybe now 100 professors, 104 professors, faculty. And so actually more professors than each year of undergraduate students.
I have to say I envy the current students. Right, because we just said we only had 2 classes of undergrads, so in total that's 60. We have more than 100 faculties devoted to of course they have other things, but they are also devoted to to mentoring those undergrads. So if we calculate the ratio, it is
it's like
one student to more than one faculty member, which I think is totally unimaginable in any other university. Right.
So that means the undergraduate student here has a huge amount of opportunity to explore frontiers and gets hands-on in research from freshmen. So that's unheard in the United States. Yeah. Seriously. So make is so special. That's why a large proportion of the undergraduate students went to PhD programs and getting doctoral degrees. Okay, so this is an undergraduate program at a School of AI. They will still reform it. It's going to be 4 years. You have some compulsory courses. You have electives, and then you have some the credits, 140, and then you have master program. You know, and then you have PhD program mostly. So there are two types of PhDs in China. One is that you go master and then PhD, 2 steps. They also have so-called direct PhDs. Just go straight.
From bachelor degree?
From bachelor's, bachelor's go straight. That's 5 years usually. Okay, so I think this is amazing. And also, just next to the campus is this Beijing Institute for General Artificial Intelligence. We just started this new program, new institute, which is outside the university. It's going to be like we want to match like top institute in the world for AI research. You know,
Gathering together
with a big platform for students. So here's a video made. So we pursue a unified theory, create general agents to lift humanity. That's our goal. And here's the AGI in this Chinese. This is amazing. The Chinese word of AGI is Tong, and the AGI is inside the English words AGI. Did you see it? There was A and G and I in that Chinese character.
Oh.
You saw it?
I think I will replay that logo.
Let me show you again.
Wait a second.
Wait a second, right? This is the Tong, right? You see it again?
Yes, Tong. Yeah.
Tong, this is
see
A, G, and I.
Oh.
Okay, watch again. That Chinese character, pursuing unified theory, create general agents, say AGI.
Oh, yes, now I see that. Oh.
Amazing?
Oh, okay. Oh.
So this is just next door to the university. This Tsinghua University, this is the Peking University. Okay.
This is the location.
Yeah, this is the location. So finally, this is the end. I think we provide a huge platform and a program of training, and open the door, and we have unknown territory for people to explore.
Well, what I think, like through listening, I think that AI right now plays a vital role in many industries. So I think if you want to choose this field and connect it with your future job, I think that this is a choice worth thinking about. So maybe in the end, all of you can share something. Why do you think PKU is the place for studying AI? And what is your experience? What would you wish to tell to the audience, please?
I think PKU gives a very wide platform to make interdisciplinary research, including computer science, stats, psychology, neuroscience, etc. Students have the vast opportunity to explore their research interests and gain research experience through so many departments.
Okay, thank you. So
for me, I think probably I will deviate a little bit, not just about AI, right? Because from my experience, I actually went to a liberal arts college in the US, which is a college that does not have any graduate program at all, is only for undergrads. Then the core of the education there is try to cultivate students to be a better person, which I think like not just for the school for artificial intelligence, but in general that's what education is for, which is also what kind of a forte of a Peking University, right? Because it is famous for humanities, social studies, and everything. And also the School of Artificial Intelligence is trying to also collaborating with them. Like if you're looking at the elective courses, actually we have AI for arts. Yes. We have AI for social science, right? Yes. We are not trying to
focus only.
To only focus on AI, but we try to give a platform, give an environment for the students to think actually what AI can do for the people, which I think is really important, right? Like you do not only need to be good at tech, at
Yeah.
AI research.
So
You
this
also
is-
need to
yeah.
constantly think what it can give back to the society. Right? I think this is why this is so great.
Exactly. This is what I have realized because I was also trying to prepare because this is a new field for me. So I was researching, making a small research, and I see that you have mentioned that this is a great field of exploration. This is the first one.
Yeah, of course.
Discovery, and where your creativity actually is very
Yeah.
important, your imagination. So
Yeah.
this is what you're thinking about. Yeah, it's not only about AI, but this is about like
Of
more
course.
than AI. It's like 1 + 1, it makes more than 2, right?
Of course. And also like the alumni network, like the people you are interacting with every day, I think plays a huge role in your education. It's not just about like the teachers, the professors, mentors here. They are already great, but you also learn from your peers
Yes.
every day. And I have to say, all those undergrads, all the Peking University students, they are the best. Even we are comparing to, let's say, like Carnegie Mellon University, like we all studied in the US, but I still have to say, Peking University's students are the best, and you want to be friends with them, right? You want to study with them, because eventually you'll learn probably even more from those students than from the faculty members. And that is huge, great resources, not just for those 4 years or 5 years for PhD program, but even longer for your whole career, right? Even for your whole lifetime.
Learning from each other.
Exactly.
Right.
Yes, and now we're going to Professor
Okay,
Ju.
yes, I want to. I was amazed when last year I come back after living in the United States for 28 years. So first of all, the campus is very charming, and with a lot of gardens, ancient buildings, and the architecture is really inspiring. And also the atmosphere here is very academic, and freedom is the top word that the top word that you can see in the for the university. Free exploration, and people are very nice. So Harvard is where I got my graduate education. I feel it's like people generally think that Peking University is very much like Harvard in China. It's humanity, art, and also now science, engineering. So, but what is makes special of this AI program? Let me tell you. By creating agents, we understand what are agents, and then understand who we are, understand the humans. What is the real humanity, right? What is the real society? Usually you study those things from the books by ancient scholars, philosophers. But now you can study with mathematical models. You have a much better and deeper understanding of humanity. I feel, when I joined the universities, I meet so many of the scholars and invite them from philosophy and also Confucian study in the Tao, Buddhism. They come to my office and discuss with me. I also challenge them, how do you define Confucian and how to define Buddhism from the perspective of artificial intelligence? Okay, we better understand humanity and then better understand AI. It's kind of a iterative process to me. Okay, but this university really shows you want to train to be a better person, right? Our undergraduate program is to prepare young kids come here to become a sound. They call it profound sound person. It's called this is the building they call it 德才尊备体健全. It means morality and then your talents, your skills, but also your body, physically, mental, prepare everything, right? This is, I think, what Peking University is about. I really enjoy my stay here and interacting with really the best mind from the population. It's really amazing. All those people are selected from the top 0.1%, 0.01% from the population. They come enter this university, and it's a challenge to be a professor here because you have to be smart to catch up with your student. All right,
Yes.
that's I really love this place.
It is challenging to study here, but I think it makes sense because you can learn a lot.
But you can also see everyone is super friendly and supportive. I
Yes.
think that's also very important.
Yes.
Of course, the program is challenging because we really want to give the student the best. But of course, we will be supportive like across the whole way, right? So it's not just, we give you more exercise, and ask the student to do it. It's totally not the philosophy
Yeah.
of this, School of Artificial Intelligence.
Exactly. This is what I felt. And also through 3 representatives, through your fruitful introduction, you also left a lot of food for thought for us because we need to think it over. And really, if you like it, I think that we welcome you to be here. And what you can get, what I think you can get here, it is you can tailor your academic journey to your specific interest. This is the great point, and also the interaction, making friends with people from different parts of the world because they're gathering here. So thanks once again to 3 representatives. Thank you for the information you gave us. So I hope that everyone who was watching us have learned more through our online information session. And if you have any questions, you can check on the website for more information, or maybe contact us via email. Once again, thank you very much, and see you next time.
Okay, see you at the Peking University campus.
Yeah, see you in Peking University campus.